Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Linda Sperry, and I'm your worship associate for today, and I'm happy to welcome you along with our minister, Reverend Sean Wiltshire, our director of music ministries, Beth Syverson, and Judy Tomlinson, who's back from vacation, our director of religious education. I think you've noticed there's something a little different today. We have some new chairs. So, it goes without saying, if you have coffee, do not spill it. And if you would be so kind as to move over toward the middle. If you noticed last week, we had almost a full house, and we had people that were actually leaving because they didn't see a place to sit. So if you could move in toward the middle of your row, if you don't mind, and then those people could more easily slip into the service as they arrive. Thanks so much. So before we begin our service this morning, please silence your cell phones. And if your hearing aid has a T-coil, you're invited to activate it in order to pick up the sound from our AV system. As Unitarian Universalists, our spiritual paths vary, but in this congregation, we have a covenant that wherever our paths may lead, we will walk them together. We affirm that all life has inherent value and that all existence is interconnected. We strive for justice and compassion in our deeds and relationships, and we're committed to creating a welcoming community without regard to the traits that sometimes divide people. We're especially glad to have you today if you are a visitor. Most of what you'll need to follow the service will be on the screen in front of you, so let our worship begin with the lighting of our chalice as we say our unison affirmation. Love is the spirit of the church, and service is its law, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. This we affirm together.
Good morning. Our opening song is you will recognize if you were alive and or watching TV in the 1970s. Some were alive but were not watching TV. So those of you that were into mass media in the 1970s, this will ring a bell. I changed the first words though to the little chant to make it match who we are. Go ahead and stand if you are comfortable, and we'll give this a try. Orange Coast Unitarian Universalist 28, 45, Mesa, Mesa, we're gonna do it. Invitation will take it. Give us any rule to break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Do it in our way. Nothing's gonna turn us back now. Straight ahead and on the track now. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way. There's nothing we won't try. Never heard the word impossible this time. There's no stopping us. We're gonna do it. On the market, set that go down. Got a dream and we just know now. We're gonna make our dreams come true. And we'll do it our way, yes, our way. Make all our dreams come true. And we'll do it our way, yes, our way. Make all our dreams come true. For me and
See, a lot of people were watching TV in the 70s with me. Well, we come bound by the threads of a dream, of all walking together side by side, none of us above or below, less or more or forgotten. A dream that is possible even more than we have yet imagined. A dream of kindness and connection that softens and turns us toward each other with tenderness. A dream of courage and commitment that will enable us to stay the course, and in admit where we have gone astray. May this vision comfort and challenge. May it weave us together and never let us go until the dream is made real. the new plans for a new sanctuary. It's very exciting. I would like to now, though, invite all of the children and children at heart up here to join Reverend Judy for our story called Time for All Ages.
Good to see you all. Linda has something for you. If you, how many of you have heard the phrase "just a drop in the bucket"? Have you guys ever heard that?
I have once.
Well, we hope this morning that this phrase will take on a new meaning. Once upon a time, there was a drop of water named Higgins. Higgins was no ordinary drop of water. He was a drop with a dream. Higgins lived in a valley and where it had not rained for a very long time. So all the lovely green grass was dying and turning brown, and all the beautiful flowers were wilting, and all the great trees were drooping. But Higgins had a dream. He dreamt that one day the valley would once again be a beautiful place. But what could he do? After all, he was only a drop of water. So one day, Higgins decided to travel and tell other people about his dream. And all the drops listened very politely, but no one believed that his dream would come true. Higgins said one of the drops, "Get your head out of the clouds. You can't spend your whole life dreaming." Higgins decided that he had to do something to make his dream come true. So one day he began to think and to think and to think. And one day he was walking by an old bucket. And Higgins thought, if a few of us got together in this bucket, there would be enough water to sprinkle a few flowers and to help them grow and become beautiful again. Eagerly, Higgins told everyone about his idea, but everyone thought he was foolish. But Higgins, he is nothing but a dreamer. So Higgins decided that he had to do something to convince everyone that he was right. So he said to them, "I don't know about you, but I'm getting into that bucket. I hope that some of you will join me. And then there might be at least enough water to make some flowers come back to life." So Higgins ran as hard as he could, and he launched himself way up in the air, and he landed kerplunk into the bottom of the bucket. And there he sat, just a drop in a bucket. For a long time, Higgins was very lonely. It seemed that no one else was going to join him. But after a while, some drops could see that the grass was dying, and that the flowers were wilting, and that the great trees were drooping. So they all agreed that something must be done. So one drop suddenly yelled, "I'm going into the bucket with Higgins!" And he leaped into the air, and he landed kerplunk in the bucket. Then two others yelled out, "Wait for us!" So they hopped through the air, and they landed in the bucket, and then 10 drops went, and then 30, and then 50, and then hundreds of drops, and then thousands of drops went into the bucket. And soon the bucket was completely full of water. But there were still more drops that wanted to join. Do you guys want to join? You want to join and put your drop in the bucket? Oh, fabulous. So Then there were 2 buckets, and then 3 buckets, and then 4 buckets, and then 10, and then hundreds and thousands. And then along came a powerful breeze, and it blew all the buckets over, and then all the water went down into the valley, and it formed a mighty stream, and wherever the water went, the grass turned green again, and the flowers bloomed, and the tall trees stood mighty and powerful. And this all happened just because Higgins had a dream, and he made his dream come true. Because although he was just a drop in the bucket, enough drops in the bucket make a bucket full. And when there are enough buckets and the wind is behind them, they will make a mighty stream that will roll down like justice and righteousness, like a mighty stream. May your roots grow deep, may your branches spread far. May you find this world to be a wonderful place and leave it even better for those who follow. And now I hope the children will join me in the classroom for a Star Wars party.
On a lot of big days, it looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. We do turn off the screen when this happens only because it can be detrimental for people who have epilepsy to see the flashing. So we're going to improvise today. So this morning, most of these songs a lot of you know, and the rest of you can kind of hum along. And Beth will lead us in a short song. Basically this morning, I'm going to invite you to dream. Okay? No matter your age or whatever you've got in your life, I want you to dream big. Because those are the ones that are really worth going for, right? And this morning I'm going to offer 3 readings and 3 meditations afterwards to help us dream. And in between, Beth is going to lead us in song. And you feel free to join in if you know the song, but she and Susan will sing it with us. So before I start our first reading by David White, I invite you to just kind of get comfortable there in your body and soften your eyes, take some deep breaths, feel your body, feel parts of it relax. Sweet Darkness by David White. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There, you can be sure you are not beyond love. The dark will be your home tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. In this darkness of our soft eyes, in the sweet confinement of your aloneness this morning, I invite you to consider in a spirit of meditation, what brings you alive? What brings you alive? then is too small for you? What holds you back? What is too small for you?
You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. Sing with me. You can do this hard thing. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing.
Our second meditation and reading is by Margaret Wheatley. Again, I invite you into that spirit of meditation. Soften your eyes and take some deep breaths. This is called Turning to One Another. There is no power greater than a community discovering what it cares about. Ask what's possible, not what's wrong. Keep asking. Notice what you care about. Assume that many others share your dreams. Be brave enough to start a conversation that matters. Talk to people you know. Talk to people you don't know. Talk to people you never talk to. Be intrigued by the differences you hear. Expect to be surprised. Treasure curiosity more than certainty. Invite in everybody who cares to work on what's possible. Acknowledge that everyone is an expert about something. Know that creative solutions come from new connections. Remember, you don't fear people whose story you know. Real listening always brings people closer together. Trust that meaningful conversations can change your world. Rely on human goodness and stay together. In the spirit of meditation, I ask you to consider, what do we here in this church as Unitarian Universalists, what do we care about? What is it that we care about? And what's possible for this community? What can we do together?
We can do this hard thing. We can do this hard thing. It's not easy, we know, but we believe that it's so. We can do this hard thing.
Our third meditation is by Maya Angelou. It's called A Brave and Startling Truth. We, this people, on a small and lonely planet, traveling through casual space, past aloof stars, across the way of indifferent suns, to a destination where all signs tell us it is possible and imperative that we learn a brave and startling truth. And when we come to it, when we come to this brave and startling truth, to the day of peacemaking, when we release our fingers from fists of hostility and allow the pure air to cool our palms, when we come to it, when the curtain falls on the minstrel show of hate and faces sooted with scorn are scrubbed clean, when battlefields and coliseum no longer rake our unique and particular sons and daughters up with the bruised and bloody grass to lie in identical plots in foreign soil. When the rapacious storming of the churches, the screaming racket in the temples have ceased, when the pennants are waving gaily, when the banners of the world tremble stoutly in the good, clean breeze, when we come to it, when we let the rifles fall from our shoulders and children dress their dolls in flags of truce, when landmines of death have been removed and the aged can walk into evenings of peace, when religious ritual is not perfumed by the incense of burning flesh and childhood dreams are not kicked awake by nightmares of abuse, when we come to it, then we will confess that not the pyramids with their stones set in mysterious perfection, nor the gardens of Babylon hanging as eternal beauty in our collective memory, not the Grand Canyon kindled into delicious color by western sunsets, nor the Danube flowing its blue soul into Europe, not the sacred peak of Mount Fuji stretching to the rising sun, neither Father Amazon nor Mother Mississippi, who without favor nurture all creatures in the depths and on the shores. These are not the only wonders of the world. When we come to it, we, this people, on this minuscule and kithless globe, who reach daily for the bomb, the blade, and the dagger, yet who petition in the dark for tokens of peace. We, this people, on this mote of matter, in whose mouths abide cantankerous words which challenge our very existence, yet out of those same mouths come songs of such exquisite sweetness that the heart falters in its labor and the body is quieted into awe. We, this people on this small and drifting planet, whose hands can strike with such abandon that in a twinkling life is sapped from the living, yet these same hands can touch with such healing, irresistible tenderness that the haughty neck is happy to bow and the proud back is glad to bend. Out of such chaos, of such contradiction, we learn that we are neither devils nor divines. When we come to it, we, this people, on this wayward floating body, created on this earth, of this earth, have the power to fashion for this earth a climate where every man and every woman can live freely without sanctimonious piety, without crippling fear. When we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible, we are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. I invite you in that spirit of meditation to consider Maya Angelou's words and this question. What is your miraculous and wondrous dream for this world? What is your miraculous and wondrous dream for this world? And then, what is your wondrous and miraculous role in making that dream come true? What is your wondrous and miraculous role in making that dream come true? And then, when will you come to it? in my high school, most people had crushes on celebrities like Boy George or Tom Cruise or Madonna, and that was back in the 80s. I had a little bit of a different crush. My crush was Mikhail Baryshnikov.
Oh, yes.
If y'all don't know who Mikhail Baryshnikov is, he's an incredible dancer, an amazing dancer. And honestly, you know, I remember I was looking back on this, I was thinking, you know, it wasn't so much that he was, you know, kind of a hot guy, right? Because I think calling him 5'5" is a little generous. Sure. He's got that Russian kind of pointed features. He's not a classically handsome kind of guy. But I realized I admired him so much. And not just his dancing, he was so amazing. Misha, as he was known, he embodied the passion of what it took to live a dream. And it was a passion that I wanted and I admired. He grew up with a single mother and his grandparents, and like a lot of Russian men, he was given a lot of confidence. But in the USSR, at that time, it had a way of sort of crushing people's dreams. And though he was the superior dancer, he's considered one of the greatest that has ever lived. He wasn't given the big roles at the Bolshoi Ballet because of his height, right? But he was so fascinated and curious to try all forms of dance. He wanted to go out there, but that was something that he couldn't do at the very classical, you do things a very certain way at the Bolshoi Ballet. So, while on tour in Canada, he literally ran down the street one night and defected to the US Embassy. He left everything that he knew behind. And he threw himself into dance. In his first year, I remember learning he danced something like 250 different dances in a year. He was just so excited to learn everything. He did jazz and he did modern dance. He just did everything you could possibly think of. And he gave up so much to be here. His family and his friends, the only life he'd ever known. He gave up what made him small, that limitations of the Bolshoi. See, he pursued dance for a really long time. The guy is 70 now, by the way. So he's been around for a while. He did, as I said, he did jazz and ballet, classical, modern, everything he could think of. He wanted to dance everything, and everyone just welcomed him in because he was incredible and so open to learning everything. Even though he had very limited English at the time. He jokes that he spent a lot of time socializing in gay bars, and that's where he learned his English. It wasn't his later years that he realized that actually, as much as he loved dancing, being on stage, performing, kind of was starting to weigh on him. So he decided he'd try management, and he became the artistic director of the American Ballet Theater, which he learned was really more about fundraising than anything. So along the way, he tried performing arts like acting in movies and television. You've seen him probably here or there. He's now 70 years old, and he's finally figured out that what he really loves is creating. And so he does choreography, and he started his own dance troupe called the White Oak Dance Company, which he runs. And what I love about him is that he never stood in one place. His dreams changed. He realized what he wanted out of life, so he changed them. His dream wasn't static. It wasn't one thing. It led him to wherever it needed to lead him. And it taught him new skills along the way. Because the keys to dreaming big isn't just the scope of the dream, but allowing it to move you wherever it takes you and being open to where that movement leads. To not get stuck and think I have to only do this one thing. Dreams change for a reason, not because we've given up on them, but because they are leading us to new places. And following those dreams can be really hard. You can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. And Misha isn't the only one who, following his dreams, even at age 70, people are doing it right now. How many here have heard of Danica Rome?
Oh, yeah.
A couple people here? Yep. So Danica, she grew up reading newspapers, and so she started her career as a journalist. Then under George W. Bush, there was the same-sex marriage ban, and that pushed her into politics and made her wonder how she could affect change in her state of Vermont. So she decided to run for the state legislature. Oh, and she happens to be transgender. In January of this year, she became the first openly transgender person to serve in any U.S. state legislature. And I can't help but wonder where her dreams might lead her. And I think of people like her and Mesa when my own dreams feel overwhelming. I think of all the people who helped get them where they are because they didn't do it alone. They had lots of other sort of droplets, as it were, to help them. I think of all the excuses she had to not run for the legislature, right? And then I start going, okay, maybe I should get with it. You know, Sean, you can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You can do this hard thing. I think it takes certain qualities to live dreams. Because let's face it, not everybody does live them. I think it takes courage, right? It takes courage to change, to leaving behind what makes us small. Like thinking we're just a drop in a bucket. It takes curiosity about asking what's possible, not what could go wrong, oh dear, not horribilizing, right? But what's possible. And it also does take confidence. It takes belief in ourselves to know that we are the miraculous and wondrous that can change the world, even our part of it. But here's what it doesn't take. It doesn't take having all the answers right now. And it doesn't mean also ignoring the issues that you can anticipate. We all know, I'm sure Danica was fully aware, being a transgender woman, what she was facing out there when she ran, right? But you know, she planned for that. She knew, she planned herself to deal with that. And you know what, this church actually knows how to live a dream because you did exactly that just before I came here when you moved from the place on Victoria to here, to this new place 5 years ago. This church had a dream of a new space that would grow with them. Because on Victoria, we're isolated, couldn't build out, and the parking was going away. Yeah, see, she agrees. It took a huge leap of faith to buy this property and move. And in fact, I don't know if for those of you who were around at that time, they didn't even know that they had this property when they sold the old one. That was the leap of faith. And it was scary, right? But guess what? You did this hard thing. It wasn't easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. You did this hard thing. And now that dream is leading us onward, a dream to build a new sanctuary, to not stop dreaming. What are the possibilities, right? As you can see, we're packed in here. This is a good problem to have, right? This is cool. It means we're living who we are called to be. This space was meant to be our fellowship hall where we eat. That's why we have concrete floors and, you know, the ceiling's kind of low and things like that. We've been wanting to build that, and now it is that time. And today, after the service, you're going to hear from our architect to what it looks like to have our dreams come true. And the question isn't, oh, what's going to go wrong? Or what's the problems in building a new sanctuary? The question really that we need to ask is, what's possible? What can we do with a bigger building? Because building our new sanctuary is not just about the building. It's about building a larger, ever more inclusive community. About building a place where people, regardless of their gender identity, who they love, their immigration status, their race, their income, their education, their ability, their beliefs, a place where everyone is welcome. They can say it all sounds crazy. They can say, I've lost my mind. I don't care, so call me crazy. We can live in a world that we design. My prayer is that we continue to build a place that we design, where all people are welcome, where people feel the spirit, hope, and joy flow through its walls and out into the community. We can do this hard thing. It's not easy, I know, but I believe that it's so. We can do this hard thing. It's going to take 1,000,000 dreams, or maybe 130, 140 dreams to do this hard thing. And we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. So let us make our dreams come true, and let us build this house. Amen.
Stand as you're comfortable. I found a song that we can do without any lyrics on the screen. Just follow me.